Okay, so what is Adobe Photoshop? Photoshop is a program that we use to edit photos. It's been around since 1988 and it's one of the most used graphic programs currently for editing photos. Okay, so we'll have an assignment for what is Photoshop. Okay, some of the questions that you want to be able to answer are about color mode, because anytime we go to File, New, we have the option to change our color mode. So you'll see you have different color modes here. I'm going to focus on these two color modes, RGB and CMYK. RGB is our color mode for screen. Anytime you're looking at the screen, that is our RGB color mode, and that's red, green, and blue. Anytime we print on the printer, we are using CMYK, which stands for cyan, magenta, yellow, and black. And I will quickly go here so you guys can see the difference. Okay, I'll go here. So RGB is mixing these three colors. Okay, and then CMYK is mixing these. There should be four colors there actually, which is black, which is what you get in the middle there. But going back to talking about the difference, basically, this is a perfect picture. RGB, screen, CMYK, print. Okay, I'm going to actually save this picture, and I'm going to go back here. So why is this important? It's important because if you are setting up your document as RGB, that means your colors may appear to be more vibrant. If you decide later on that you would like to print a file that is RGB, you may or may not notice a color difference. Sometimes you'll see that the colors do get dull. There is a way to switch the color modes when you're in Photoshop if you realize later on that you've made a mistake, which we will talk about moving forward. Going back here, we have raster art, or another word is bitmap art. Raster is basically telling you that the file has pixels. Anytime we work in Photoshop, we are working with a raster based image, okay, or raster based file. And you want to know the difference between raster and vector. Raster is pixel based, where vector is created from points, lines, and shapes, making a geometrical procedure. Okay, so just for our first lesson about what is Photoshop, or where is Photoshop, you should see Photoshop on your dock. If it is not there, you would just go to the Finder, go to Applications, and then it should be at the top here. You would double click on it, double click there. Okay. How do you reset your work area? So right now, if you look at my screen, my work area is pretty messy. We have the option to create a workspace, and we go to Window, Workspace, and Reset. And that just basically cleans up your screen, so that way if you feel like you're getting overwhelmed with what's on your screen, that's what that is. Okay. We have our toolbox on the left side here. We do have the option to switch the view from a single column to two columns. If you leave your mouse, as you saw a second ago, on a tool, you can click on the video and it'll bring you to watch a video. We do have a magnifying glass here where you can zoom in and zoom out. You can also use the keyboard shortcut Command plus or Command minus. Command plus will zoom in, whereas Command minus will zoom out. If you're on a PC, that would be Control plus or Control minus. And that shortcut works in other programs besides Photoshop. Down here at the bottom of our toolbox, we have our foreground color and our background color. Okay, usually they are set to black and white. I clicked on this button right here, which allowed me to reset to the original colors that are standard. You can also click on this double arrow to switch them. Okay, and we will be going over all these tools as we progress in Photoshop. So let's talk about our workspace. I'm gonna go over here. So you will see our menu bar is at the top here where it says Photoshop next to the Apple symbol, File, Edit, Image, and so on. We have our, like I said, our toolbox here. I'm going to minimize that for now. Okay, as you switch your tools, you will see this bar over here next to the home gets switched. So I'm going to switch my tools so you can see that happening. Okay, that is our option bar. Okay, that works with our tools. Okay, we have our document window, which right now what you're looking at are my pages. That's my document window. And then at the bottom here, you'll see the document details. Okay, now anytime you go to save, so if I press Command S or File Save, if I've changed anything in my document, this will start showing that it's saving the document. Okay, Command S or Control S is the shortcut for saving. Save as is Command Shift S or Control Shift S. Okay. You'll see in this on these pages, I've outlined the parts of the interface or the workspace. Okay. So I'm gonna go over here now. Okay, so what is our workspace? Our workspace is this whole screen that you're looking at. This is the area where you're working in. I just went through the different parts of the workspace. Now, something I didn't explain is what's on the right side here. On the right side, you have all your panels. What are panels? Panels are these floating boxes. And you saw that when I resetted my workspace, but I'm gonna pull this out. This is one of the panels you need to know how to use, and you will. This one has a lot of layers and a lot of artboards. Just a recap in case I didn't say it prior, an artboard is when you have multiple pages in your document. Layers is all the things you have on the page, okay? Basically, when you're working in Photoshop, you want everything you're adding to your page, whether it's text, images, shapes, or objects, you want them all to be separated like I have in my panel here. Okay, now why do you want them to be separated like this? So the reason why you want to have separate layers is so that way you can move things around. So right now, an example would be this picture right here. Let's say, you know what, I don't like this picture anymore. I want to move it. Okay, I can do that. Whereas if the picture, and I will do a demonstration on, and I will flatten these layers, meaning I'll put them together. Okay, if I do it this way, where I didn't create layers, let's say that was the case, it would move as one and they cannot be separated. Now I'm going to go a little bit more into detail when I say they can't be separated. Technically, you can separate this picture because it's not, you know, there's space around it. But it would be a lot of work. It may take a lot of time. And you may not get the result you want when you separate them. So by creating layers in the beginning, you help yourself to basically save time, but also give yourself the option to make changes. Sometimes when we're working on projects, I will have you duplicate layers or group layers and then duplicate the group, which I will explain what that means in the future. And we will take all the layers and flatten them in the copy. We'll still have the original, but we'll flatten them. So we will talk about layers as we move on, but I'm just explaining why this would be important. And put that back over here, and you'll notice you can dock your panels back over here. If I wanted to, I can also, I'm going to open something that I don't think I'm going to use. Let's say this one. You can also press the little X and it will close it. Now that doesn't delete it. It just puts it back in here, okay, in the Windows menu. So in the window menu All of these, everything from 3D all the way down to version history, are panels, okay? And again, that's what we have on the right side here, okay? Another thing to notice about your workspace is you'll notice your files, you may have more than one tab open. So I'm going to do an example, okay, like this. Kind of like if you think about Google Chrome, when you open up more than one tab, you can click on them and go back and forth, okay? You can also click on a tab and drag it off and separate it, which you can also do in Google Chrome too. Okay, I'm going to minimize that, but basically here next to the little X, the X will close the file, so you never really want to click on that unless you've already saved. After that, you have your file name, followed by how it's being saved, what kind of format, file format, and then the percent of zooming. So if I zoom in more, you'll see that number changes. Okay, I went to 50%, it was at, I believe, 33. If I zoom out, I should go back to it. Yep, 33. Okay, it's the type of file and color mode. Okay, so that's our workspace. Okay, if you decide you want to change up your workspace, you would go to Window Workspace, and they have some pre-created workspaces here. So depending on if you're focusing on painting or you saw photography or graphics, you can change between them. I personally usually stick to defaults, which is essentials, but there's been times where I create my own workspace and I only have panels that I normally would use. So most of the panels you see right now on my screen are actually panels that I very rarely use. Okay, I can't say I don't use them. I definitely use the properties panel and, like I said, the layers panel, but the rest of them I use just not frequently. Okay, now in my opinion, do I need panels that I don't need every day or every time I work in Photoshop? I would probably close them. I probably wouldn't keep them open, but that's an option for you when you're on your computer. Okay, you can close any panels, and basically when you start altering the current layout, let's say I go here and I open up the character panel. The character panel is something I use all the time, so maybe I would want to have that open. I want to have my layers open. Paragraph panel, which works with the character panel. Those are your type panels. Properties maybe. And then maybe I would close some of these. So I'm gonna close the ones I don't use. Okay, again, I'm dragging them out. Adjustments I definitely use, but not frequently, so I'm gonna close those. Okay, our patterns, I don't really use those. Again, this doesn't mean I don't use them, just means I don't use them as much. So I don't need them open. They're just taking up my space at this point. Okay. My computer froze. Okay. You know what? Channels I will keep open. Paths I will close. Okay. Channels basically control how you're seeing the color on your screen. Okay. If you start shutting certain things off, you'll notice the colors that pop up. So I'm going to keep that open. Sometimes when we bring files into Photoshop, that can have a little bit of an effect. I'm going to keep that open. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this grouped panel back in here, and you want to look for the blue lines. Okay, that's not how I meant to do it. I meant to put it down here. See if I can get it to work. Okay, I'm gonna play around with this first. Okay, so I'm gonna put my colors together. All right, and I'm gonna put the channels at the bottom here. So all I'm doing is I'm kind of connecting them in a group. How do you do that? You just want to see that the blue outline or the blue line. Okay, I have my character panel, which I would like to put on the top here, my paragraph panel, and then my layers panel. I'm actually going to put that somewhere else. So I'm going to put that like that, and then what I'm going to do with my layers panel is I'm going to put them in here. Okay, and then that would be how I set that up. I'm going to go to Workspace, new workspace, and I'm gonna name it Miss K. You can name it whatever you want. You can start saving. You can save your shortcuts they use, or menus, or toolbox. I'm gonna leave that all the way it is. I'm gonna press save. Okay, now what you're gonna do for activity 4 and activity, let's see what the number is on here, 4B, is you're gonna fill out the workspaces. So for this activity, you're gonna put the names of the workspace that we discussed, basically what's listed here. And then for the next worksheet, you're going to, again, you're gonna label where it says like the letters here. You're gonna put the name of what's being pointed out, and then write a description of what those are. Okay, so an example would be B. 1 second. B is your toolbox, okay? Whereas, and then I'm gonna just point out something. F is more focusing on your foreground and background color, okay? Which maybe this should have been made a little bit clearer. I will try to go and edit this a little bit for you, but basically with workspace activity B, 4B, you're gonna write the name of what the letter is pointing out, and then you're gonna explain what it is. Okay, so B, like I said, is toolbox. You would write the word toolbox, and then the purpose of the toolbox is, and explain what it's for. Thank you. I hope if you have any help, let me know. I appreciate you for watching this video, and I hope I was able to explain it well enough for you to understand. Thank you.